Hello, good evening. Welcome to North West Tonight on Wednesday evening with Roger Johnson, and thank you for joining us. Our top story. 7 men are jailed for raping 2 girls in Rochdale. The leader of the gang, who liked to be called Boss Man, was given 35 years. The girls were raped by hundreds of men, yet social workers described one as a prostitute when she was just 10. Also tonight, 1M6 bridge will stay open during extended roadworks in Cumbria to stop communities being cut off.
Right, see these shoes? These are the classics, and they're the same shoes that I designed in 1977.
The new exhibition showcasing the Bolton-made trainers, which were once the best-selling brand in the world. Brightening up his community, how Martin's Minions are bringing smiles to young and old in Salford.
It gives them a good smile and what have you. Oh, I love me.
And some stormy weather on the way for Friday and the weekend, with wind warnings already in place. But what about tomorrow? I'll be back at the end of the programme.
A gang of 7 Asian men have been jailed for a total of more than 150 years for repeatedly raping 2 girls in Rochdale between 2001 and 2006. The 65-year-old ringleader, a market trader called Mohammed Zahid, was given 35 years. The court heard that the girls were abused by hundreds of men, but one of them was labelled a prostitute by social workers. And the men were only brought to justice because the girls, who are now women, went to the police. Phil McCann was in court. He joins us now live from there. A very disturbing case, Phil, to say the least.
Yes, Roger, and of course it's unfortunately true to say, isn't it, that news stories about grooming gangs that operated in Rochdale, well, it might all sound very familiar to people, but that doesn't stop any of the details of any of the individual cases being any more shocking. They're all shocking. In this case, the judge said that the 2 victims, who can be known only as Girl A and Girl B, were abused, degraded and then discarded. The trial here, which started back in January, heard that they were used as sex slaves and expected to be available for sex whenever and wherever the men wanted. And they did try to report what was happening to them at the time, but they weren't listened to by the authorities. More recently, though, the girls, now of course women, told their stories again, and this time, finally, the authorities listened. 10 years ago, a woman who we can only call Girl A walked into the St Mary's Centre for Sexual Assault Victims here in Manchester and told her story about how she had been raped and abused by grooming gangs when she was as young as 13, 10 years earlier. Today, 20 years after the abuse, what she and another woman told the police has led to 7 South Asian men being jailed.
At the centre of this case are 2 victims who as children were repeatedly abused, passed around and discarded by men who cruelly preyed on their vulnerabilities and exploited their difficult circumstances for their own gratification.
The 2 victims can't be named, but the police read out a statement first from Girl A, who told the court that she was targeted in total by as many as 200 men.
My childhood was taken away from me by these men. I should have been out with friends, playing in parks and being innocent, hanging around on the streets, enjoying my childhood and creating memories I would be able to cherish and look back at as an adult.
Mohammed Zahid, known as the Boss Man, ran an underwear stall on Rochdale's outdoor market. That's how the 2 girls first met him in 2001. With difficult home lives, they were highly vulnerable. He raped and abused them both and led them into a world where they were repeatedly used for sex in filthy homes and vacant shop spaces across Rochdale by 6 other men who were also market stall holders or taxi drivers. Girl B said the police and council social workers knew what was going on but didn't do anything about it. She'd been a victim of sexual abuse from a young age, and her files show the police considered her a prostitute at the age of 10. And those failings made it even more difficult for them to tell their stories as adults.
They'd obviously had an experience prior to this where services had let them down, so there was a lot of trust building there to make them feel comfortable enough to open up to us.
Victims come forward to JMP now, they're believed, they have control over that journey, and we will do everything we can to support them, but that forms the basis of the investigation.
But Girl B made clear in court that she finally feels heard.
Standing in the courtroom and being able to have my own voice was the hardest thing I've ever been through, but the best experience. I was able to tell my truth, and I now know that my voice matters because I was believed.
Mohammed Zahid was jailed for 35 years, Mushtaq Ahmed for 27 and Qasir Bashir for 29, although his whereabouts are unknown. Mohammed Shahzad and Naheem Akram were both jailed for 26 years, while Nisa Hussain was jailed for 19. Some of the men argued with each other as they were being interviewed by the police. But in the end, they were all convicted of all the charges they faced. Now, one of the two girls at the centre of this case, girl B, was in court today to watch the perpetrators of that horrendous abuse against her being sentenced, being jailed, being sent away from the dock. The other girl, now a woman of course, girl A, was watching on a video link, and the judge paid tribute to both of them for what he said was their extraordinary courage despite being let down by those who were meant to help them at the time. He said they were both inspirational.
Phil, thank you very much. Phil McCann there live for us at Minchell Street Crown Court in Manchester. Now, here are some of the other stories that are making headlines in the North West tonight, and an investigation is continuing into the death of a 78-year-old pensioner who'd apparently fallen from the window of the Berrycroft Manor care home in Stockport on Monday. She was treated at the scene but later died from her injuries in hospital. Care home bosses say that they are shocked by what happened. The High Court's ordered a company linked to the Conservative peer Baroness Michelle Mone and her Isle of Man-based businessman husband Doug Barrowman to pay back £122 million for breaching a government contract to supply PPE during the COVID pandemic. The Department of Health sued PPE MedPro, arguing the gowns didn't meet healthcare standards. The company disputed that. A spokesperson for Mr Barrowman described the ruling as a travesty of justice. The Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband, has pledged a total ban on fracking in a fresh attack on Reform UK at the Labour conference today. Reform UK says it would reverse the ban on fracking if it gets into power. Residents in Lancashire campaigned against it when there was a fracking site on the Fylde. Mr Miliband had said that local communities had fought back and won.
Friends, got a message for you. We sent those frackers packing. I say let's ban fracking and vow to send this bunch of frackers packing too.
The Labour conference in Liverpool has now concluded. The Conservatives hold their conference next week in Manchester. We will, of course, cover that. The Prime Minister, though, did promise before he left Liverpool to meet a veteran from Rochdale who's campaigning for justice after being exposed to nuclear tests in the 1950s. John Morris was on Christmas Island when there was a series of bombs detonated there. And on BBC Breakfast this morning, Sir Keir Starmer was shown a message from John calling for a meeting to discuss their case. The PM says he will arrange it as soon as possible.
It's wonderful to hear. The sad part is I've listened to 8 Prime Ministers since John Major. Most of them have promised they'd meet us. The question is, when?
Watch this space. Now, a survivor of the 1989 Hillsborough disaster, who reported a man for posting distressing comments about the tragedy, says he did it for the 97 people who died. Marco Catino was speaking a week after a man from Manchester, Paul O'Neill, was given a suspended jail sentence after admitting sending malicious communications. Mr Catino was too emotional to speak last week, but he did do an interview today with our Merseyside reporter, Andy Gill.
The offender in this case is Paul O'Neill from Old Trafford in Manchester. In 2022, he posted that the Hillsborough disaster was a great day, called Liverpool fans vermin, and suggested some fans were still alive in body bags the next day. He was convicted in August 2024 and given a suspended jail sentence a week ago.
It hit me a bit. It did hit me because the whole thing, the last 3 years, been draining sometimes, draining personally.
Hillsborough survivor Marco Catena is the man who saw O'Neill's Facebook comments and reported him to the police. After O'Neill's suspended sentence last week, Mr Catena was too emotional to speak to reporters. But at BBC Radio Merseyside today, he reflected on the 3 years it took to bring Paul O'Neill to justice.
And I mean, the 97, they're buried, aren't they? They can't talk. So someone has to stand up for it. Someone has to stand up against people like Paul O'Neill. And I did it.
Do you think the sentence sends enough of a message to other people who might be thinking of posting stuff about Hillsborough, about other disasters?
I don't think it will end. I don't think so. Too many people out there, mate. There's too many. It's too big. Facebook, Twitter, whatever, or the platform. I think there's too many people out there.
97 Liverpool fans died in a crush at an FA Cup semi-final at the Hillsborough Stadium in Sheffield in 1989. In 2016, new inquests concluded they'd been unlawfully killed because of police failings and poor stadium design, and that fan behaviour did not contribute to the tragedy. Paul O'Neill did serve 60 days in custody for failing to surrender to the court earlier.
It's been a journey, like... Yeah.
But a journey you're glad you've done,
looking back,
despite the toll it's had on you.
Looking back, yeah. I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of myself. Not just for myself, like I explained before. Everyone's been affected, Hillsborough. Everyone. I'm proud of myself, mate.
Andy Gill, BBC North West Tonight, Liverpool.
Marco Catena there speaking to Andy Gill. Right, here are some of the other stories that people are reading this evening from BBC News. And 10 illegal e-bikes and e-scooters will be crushed after being seized by police in Blackburn. A suspected drug dealer was one of the riders. Parents are being warned to stop their children from getting into Walton Hall in Liverpool. You might remember it was destroyed in a fire in August. It's said now to be in a very dangerous state and kids are getting in. And 3 osprey chicks, which had been raised in Cumbria, were born at a previously unused nesting site, it's turned out. The birds were extinct in England until recently. You can find out more, bbc.co.uk/local news, or of course have a look on the BBC News app. Now, a key bridge which crosses the M6 in Cumbria will now remain fully open when a major motorway upgrade begins. It follows concerns raised by communities who faced massive detours to cross the motorway, and the work, as it was planned, would see the replacement of 7 ageing bridges on a 6-mile stretch of the motorway. But the work on one of those bridges will now be postponed to allow it to stay open until the others are done. Phil Chapman's got more on this.
The bridge over the M6, which National Highways now intends to keep open while repairs and deck replacements are carried out to 7 other 60-year-old bridges needing more urgent attention. The other 7 support the M6 itself, while the previously included Lortland House Bridge, the A685 Kendal to T-Bay route, will now not be shut at the same time. It'll hopefully ease access and traffic flow worries for surrounding communities once this huge engineering project gets underway in around 18 months.
We've listened to the community, we've engaged with them over 40 events over the last few months, and what we want to do is defer Lortland House Bridge. That will mean that when we're working on Junction 38, there won't be additional road diversions, which will really give benefit to the community. It'll open up another link to Kendal, and yeah, we're going to defer it as part of the works.
Westmoreland and Lonsdale MP Tim Farron cautiously welcomed the change of plan, saying, "I'm very pleased that National Highways have decided to defer the work on the bridge which connects Kendal to T-Bay. If, as previously planned, the bridge had been closed for 6 months, it would have left residents in T-Bay and the surrounding area completely cut off." The MP and campaigners will continue to press for temporary slip roads at Junction 38 to alleviate the impact on surrounding communities like the village of Orton, where cafe owner Catherine and her customers welcomed news of the A685 bridge compromise.
Definitely help, and then the whole of T-Bay and Roundthwaite aren't actually gridlocked, and then having to go down back lanes or go up to Shap. All the traffic would have to go up to Shap. So at least if that bridge is open, everyone can still get through to Kendal and vice versa. It'll be so much easier.
It's an improvement probably, yeah. You're going to have one bridge open anyway, so for the people in T-Bay, I mean, any workers that work at Kendal.
Well, it's good to know that they've listened to some extent, and I would imagine that should help, yes.
Work starts in the spring of 2027, and the target is for this Cumbrian stretch of the M6 to be fully operational again by early 2031, with the new bridges set to last at least 120 years. Phil Chapman, BBC North West Tonight, in Cumbria.
So it's all a fair way off yet, but we will, of course, keep an eye on developments. Now, we've got a bit of sport for you. In rugby league, you have to concentrate to get the gist of this. I think it's quite complicated. Wigan Warriors say that the Lee Leopards have told them that they won't play Friday's Super League playoff semi-final. A Warriors statement claims that the Leopards chairman, Derek Beaumont, wrote to say that his side won't play because of what he says is an unacceptable ticket allocation. Lee's only comment, though, since that is a post on social media saying 2 days to go until the semi-final. The Rugby League hasn't commented either, so it's all pretty unclear. Manchester City aim to make it 2 wins out of 2 in the Champions League tonight when they visit Monaco. Pep Guardiola's side are the favourites. The boss, though, says he's wary. He likes the home side style. Of course he does. They're from Monaco.
Always had a good team, play a lot of players inside. Link inside, attack with the channels, aggressive, really aggressive in the game. Hopefully we can read good what you have to do and take important victory.
And always stylish. Also a disappointing night for our Football League sides. Preston here stormed into a 2-0 lead at Hull. Thierry Small and Michael Smith here scored inside the first 10 minutes. Good goal this from Smith. The home side, though, came back to secure a point from a 2-2 draw. Blackburn Rovers took the lead through Todd Cantwell at home to Swansea, but they are still without a home win after the Welsh side recovered to win 2-1. And Blackpool's League One struggles continue. They drew 2-2 at home to Luton, that despite a double from C.J. Hamilton. That was one of his goals. Now, I had a pair. You may have had them too. Back in the mid-1980s, a sports shoe from Bolton briefly overtook Nike as the world's best-selling leisure and footwear company. You may not know that Reebok had its roots in Bolton. Maybe you do. It was a small family business. It had its factory in Bury. And it's now being celebrated in an exhibition at the Bolton Library and Museum. And its co-founder, who is now 90, has been chatting to Phil Cunliffe.
You see these shoes? These are the classics, and they're the same shoes that I designed in 1977. I'm the founder of Reebok.
He's the local boy makes good, from Bolton shoemaker to king of the trainer. And like all great products, it began with a great idea when in the 1890s, Joe Foster's grandfather added spikes to running shoes.
Got the idea from his grandfather. His grandfather used to repair cricket boots. And he thought, why don't I put those in my running shoes? And so that's the nearest thing we've got to the original, say, invention of a spike running shoe.
The shoes proved very popular. Athletes Eric Liddell and Harold Abrahams wore Foster's invention, the running pump, at the 1924 Paris Olympics, their triumphs immortalised in the film Chariots of Fire. After their grandfather died, grandsons Joe and Jeff left Foster & Sons to set up a rival firm in 1958.
They were going nowhere. So we left and we needed a job, so we set up.
But they needed a new name. Joe found the answer in his dictionary.
Dictionary's there, I opened it up. I like the letter R. I don't know why. Just like the letter R. All right. Thumb through this, R-E-E-B-O-K. What's that? It's a small South African gazelle. We're a running company.
Having settled on the name, Reebok's big breakthrough in the US came when their shoes got glowing reviews in Runner's World magazine.
3 of our shoes got 5-star ratings. All of a sudden, America wanted us. We've been pushing for 10 years. On the 11th year, they wanted us.
Somebody else who wanted them was the American movie star and fitness guru, Jane Fonda.
She actually went out and bought a pair and started making her videos with the Reebok shoes. And from being a $9 million nice running company, we became a $900 million aerobics women's company in 4 years.
Between now and mid-January, Bolton Library and Museum are showcasing the rise of Reebok and other local shoemakers.
So the exhibition tells the story of these 3 legendary sports shoe companies from Bolton: Foster & Sons, Reebok and Norman Walsh Footwear. And it also tells the story of how they worked with local running clubs, local athletes, to bring about revolutionary designs in the running shoe and really push the design of the running shoe forward.
As for Reebok, they're owned by an American company. Their sponsorship of Bolton Wanderers Stadium ended in 2014 and other links to the town have disappeared.
Reebok went out of sight for quite some time, but they're coming back now.
I was going to say, will it come back to Bolton?
It will come back to Bolton. Just watch this space. We're going to come back, I'm sure. Everybody keeps on saying, why don't you get Reebok back? Why don't you get Reebok back? Well, we've passed the message on. Let's see where it gets to.
Phil Cunliffe, BBC North West Tonight, Bolton.
Reebok are great, aren't they? And certainly not a museum piece. Now, I've been joined in the studio, as you can see, by a couple of friends. Minions, stars of the film Despicable Me and its spin-offs. Very clever, isn't it? I'd like to say that one of my minions made this, but that would be very disrespectful to John in the graphics department, who, as you can tell, is far more talented and creative than I am. He's done a great job, hasn't he? They seem to make everyone smile. And that is now happening for people in one neighbourhood in Salford, because Martin Withers, who's also known as the Minion Man, has started painting bollards on the street to brighten the area up. It's a great idea. These are the actual bollards that we've taken photographs of. Kaya Black took them when she went out earlier to gather this report.
It started with one and then it grew. Martin started painting minions around Little Holton in Salford to brighten up his community.
I've lived around here for around over 20 years and I've always seen these stumps. It's not the nicest thing to look at when it's all dirty, is it? They are the shape of a minion, like it just brightens up people's day. A lot of people have said they love coming past here.
People round here liked it so much that they've been donating for him to buy more painting supplies.
Everybody around the estate, so I've had around £300 they donated. It's cost around £500. I shouldn't have calculated how much.
Love them. The kids love them. The kids' names are on them. I'm just waiting for my son's name to go on the other one now.
They love them. Well, it gives them a good smile and what have you. Oh, I love them, me.
Dead proud, because I see a lot of people, the kids love them, and yeah, they're great.
Salford City Council say that this addition to the community isn't causing an issue and said that it is grew on them, but added that altering road signs would have legal consequences.
One day I wasn't in the best of moods and I was thinking, why am I even doing this? But then an old man stopped in a car and he said, that's wonderful work. And then I went home and I thought, that's the reason why I'm doing it. Minions! Tonight we steal the moon.
Martin's minion army is growing, and people here are hoping that one day all the bollards will be painted. Kaya Black, BBC North West Tonight, Salford.
Isn't that brilliant? They do make you smile, don't they? And I love the way that Kaya smuggled that little pun in there. It grew on them. Grew, of course, as the star of Despicable Me. That's about the limit of my knowledge. I think Rusty had it right. I love me. That was absolutely spot on. Right, we've got a bit of bad weather on the way, I think. Let's get the forecast now from Keeley.
Hello there, good evening. It's been a rather dreary day, hasn't it? A lot of cloud throughout the day, both rurally and in our towns and cities as well. But it hasn't been a particularly cold day. We reached 18 degrees at Liverpool John Lennon Airport this afternoon. I'm afraid, though, there's a lot of cloud in the forecast for tomorrow as well. You can keep your Weather Watchers pictures coming into the Weather Watchers page or on social media as well. So tomorrow, yes, largely cloudy, but it will also be largely dry as well. Let's take a quick look at the pressure chart, though, because we have got some rain in the forecast. First off, Thursday night into Friday, we've got these fronts which are going to bring quite a short spell of heavy rain. And then if you cast your eye out to the Atlantic, this area of low pressure has been named as our first named storm of the season, Storm Amy. We've got a warning for winds Friday and Saturday, and there could well be some heavy rain as well. Rather cloudy overnight. The best breaks further south, probably across parts of Cheshire if we're going to get any. Further north across the Isle of Man and parts of Cumbria, I think that cloud will be thick enough to produce some patchy rain and drizzle at times. Temperatures overnight, where we may get the clear spells down to around 8 or 9 degrees, generally, though, up in double figures. And then through tomorrow, a lot of cloud. I think any brightness will be fairly limited, though we could get the odd brighter spell. But overall, a lot of cloud, the odd pocket of light rain or drizzle. But as you can see, for most places, for most of the day, it does look dry, with temperatures once again around, if not a little above average for the time of year. But you'll notice in the Isle of Man that wind symbol, so the wind's starting to pick up from the west. And overnight into Friday, we do have our first spell of wet and windy weather. But on Friday, we are looking at a named storm. So let's look at Friday in detail. It's a fine start to the day. There's some sunshine around. It'll cloud over. Outbreaks of what may well be quite heavy rain spreading from the west. The risk of gales or severe gales, and it'll feel cooler by Friday as well. I'm afraid the very windy weather lasts into Saturday, but it'll be brighter with sunny spells and scattered showers.
Thanks, Keely. Kay will be here to update the weather forecast for us tomorrow. We will also have some rather curious hairstyles on show, including some of ours from yesteryear. So join us at 6:30 tomorrow if you can. In the meantime, I'm back at 10:30. Have a great evening and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.